Welcome to the JP Podcast. I'm your host, John.
And I'm your co-host, Tom.
Today, Tom and I are trying something a little bit different. We're trying to Zoom call podcast because we're going to be doing some of these in the future. So here we are.
Give it a little breakdown.
Yeah, just going to talk about what's coming up in the future, things we've done in the past there. I think so far the videos have been going good. What do you think?
Yeah, I think we've been able to get across a couple of videos of how we want the future to look of the JP podcast.
Yeah, I'm real happy with the guests that we've had on. It's a learning experience, and just moving along as we go, and learning. The reason why we're doing this one, we didn't know the name. We were going to go with recap, or what was the one you said?
Yeah, I think I even used the word breakdown. It's just a little insight of how we came up, or how this podcast became, and what we see it being, pretty much.
Yeah.
So let's start by talking about how you came up with this podcasting. What made you want to start a podcast in general? It seems to be a big thing going on nowadays. What made you want to get into it?
I listen to a lot at work. I'm able to put an earpiece in while I'm working, and I started listening to a lot of the podcasts. And at the time, I was following some cigar channels, some podcasts on cigars and that. And that's what started my interest there. I was like, I can do something on cigars, because I like to have a good cigar once in a while. But I didn't know what the interest would be on cigars. Not a lot of people smoke cigars,
And you saw it as, what made you start watching these cigar podcasts? That seems like a odd avenue to be down for the podcasting world.
Because one of the guys at work, had got into it, and I was trying to learn some more about it, get back into it. I was seeing on how to do humidors or which cigars were out lately. And I discovered, that's how I just started discovering all the podcasts and YouTube, was through the cigar world, and I was enjoying it, so I was hooked on those for about 6 months, driving my wife crazy because I was ordering cigars and everything. And thank God it calmed down, so how about you?
Mine started years ago. I remember, probably over a decade ago, where I would be listening to podcasts, and more specifically, there was like the 10-minute podcast and Your Mom's House podcast, which these are very well known now. Joe Rogan, back when he was even in his apartment, was something I would listen to. One of my favorite comedians from Your Mom's House was on Joe Rogan's 5th episode. Mm-hmm. So I remember watching that, and I just couldn't. It blows my mind how big podcasting has become since then, and it's just always been fun. I've been listening to multiple podcasts daily, just enjoying that. Instead of even music on a car ride now, I listen to multiple podcasts. So it kind of grew from years, just, from listening to a couple podcasts to eventually wanting to do one, at least try,
Yeah, I was not into podcasts at all. I would only go on YouTube once in a while for a how-to, or, simple stuff, maybe just for music. I was doing it, and starting a music collection through that. But, I was not doing the podcasts themselves. And shortly thereafter with the cigars, I started with the politics, when Trump was in and everything like that. That's how I was starting to learn about politics. I was all over the place. I was listening to everybody and anybody. And I started following quite a few people who I still listen to now, but not as much. Right now, today I was on a lady. She is called Ask a Mortician. Sounds weird, but she has a really good show. And she talks about everything from a mortician's point of view. And she's awesome. And I follow that one. And couple of weeks ago, I was following a guy who goes around to different cemeteries, and he looks at the pictures and he tells stories about. It's called Faces of the Forgotten, and he knows stories. So he'll go and visit a place and tell a story about somebody that's there buried, been buried there since the 1800s or something like that. It's pretty good. I binge watched him.
And it seems like between the two of us, because I mean, we've gone from everything from cigars to morticians to, if you watch Your Mom's House, you'll know it's more of just a comedic relief, a lot of funny, crazy bits. If you watch the live shows, it's really rough sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
It's just all out humor, though, just plain humor. And then you put the two worlds together, though, that seems like we could come from every angle of the podcast. And that's why I kind of liked the thought of a show where you and I get to sit down, we can talk between everybody we know and all the topics that we could cover. For example, some of the ones I watched is van life. So when we had Steve on,
I watched van life. Yeah,
I watch a lot of van life. There's a couple podcasts on there where a guy's up in Canada and he's hiking mountains and he's living out of a van, and so it's just interesting seeing all that stuff and then getting to talk to some people as well. So
yeah, I went from van life to RV living and car camping and RV. I learned everything through YouTube and and just watching the different podcasts like that. I'm hooked.
mm-hmm.
I'm hooked. I rarely watch news. I get everything through YouTube now.
Yeah.
Which is amazing. I'm rarely on Facebook anymore. Is because for me, it's all YouTube.
Yeah, I'm a heavy user on YouTube, especially if it's going to be a hard work day. That's one of the things I throw up in the top shelf there while I have the radio going and just listening to. I like the comedy aspect of it. There's a lot of things that I enjoy as far as like there's Bad Friends, there's Take Your Shoes Off, YMH. There's all these podcasts are well known big podcasts with millions of followers, but it's just awesome seeing from episode one, and just they're big comedians, so I like the lighthearted stuff of it. I very rarely get into the political side of things, very rarely, and then there's a lot of the history stuff that I like as well, though.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something I did not expect to like. That's one of those rabbit holes that caught me off guard. Started with a World War II documentary that just now I want to learn. I want to load that stuff, and I never had that interest before. So that was a pretty interesting one as well.
Yeah, you and I were talking before we started recording and everything like that, and we came up with some questions, and the thing behind this question is I wanted to know the questions that people were asking you, and you gave those to me, and then I wanted you to write down and the questions that people were asking me, and I wanted to share it on the show here. But we went over one of them already, as far as why I wanted to start it, but maybe I didn't explain it too well. The reason why I wanted to start it is because, like I said, because of the cigar place or the cigar podcast. I just felt that I could do it. And I had somebody in mind, and I approached him, and he said no. So I was kind of on a back burner, but I wasn't planning for YouTube. I was planning for another platform. And then YouTube became an option when the other platform said, well, we only do audio. And I had done a bunch of videos already. So YouTube became the only option. So we put it on there. And there was a lot to learn about YouTube. I hadn't done my homework yet. So it took a good couple of months to get just that first video up there. And, it was pretty good. How about you? What made you? No,
that seems like the learning curve there seems to be the work that goes behind the scenes of a healthy podcast is much respected nowadays. You the scheduling, getting a podcast going from nothing takes a lot. That's the side that we didn't get to see, just watching these episodes and falling in love with these the new talk radio, as everybody calls it. It's just it's interesting seeing how dedicated you have to be to do something like this, even though it's just talking over the internet.
Yeah,
YouTube gives you that platform.
it's fun, but it is a lot harder than once you get in. Like right now, I'm trying not to go. I noticed
Yeah.
myself doing it, and that's tough. And I was talking to a guy today that I'm setting up an interview maybe a couple weeks from now, and he was talking to me, and he told me he has a journalist background. So he was asking me a lot of questions. I said, well, I don't really have a podcast like that. But I said, I'm willing to learn more stuff. The show that we have, we're still new, we're still learning, and there's no background. And it's basically just talk between a bunch of guys or whoever, a bunch of people talking, and you get to listen in. But people that we find interesting, they got a story to tell, or maybe they're just funny,
or they just have some knowledge that they're willing to deliver on whatever profession or topic that they might have that expertise in. Like we said, whether it's cigar or coffee making, or building houses, or heck, I was just at the racetrack all weekend. Race a professional race car driver. It's anything that you could do professionally or even as a hobby that we would be interested in learning about. There's not going to be any limitations on this. The interview process here is what I would say excites me the most.
Well, going back to the questions, then, what would you want to get out of this podcast? That is one of the questions you wanted me to ask you.
Yeah, that's it in a nutshell. It's just the knowledge of. I mean, they said we talk about whatever. I'm open for whatever. I don't. There's some topics I really don't talk about, not because I don't. If I'm not knowledgeable, I'll do a lot of listening, but I don't tend to talk on topics I don't know a lot about. So I don't know. I guess I would try to say that I want to gain knowledge. I want to gain something from a conversation that doesn't always have to be heavy. It can be lighthearted. It can be knowledge on like I said, a comedic side, or knowledge on a ha-ha side, or if it is going to be heavy, it can be heavy happy instead of heavy sad or mad, or I don't want to be that sided of the podcast world.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
So one other questions I do have for you though is did you always plan on having a co-host? Did you always plan on having someone to sit next to you? I know you just said that you did have someone in mind, but here I am giving you a little conversation.
Yeah, I always plan to have a co-host with me because I wanted someone totally opposite from me. I wanted someone that can come up with questions that maybe I wasn't thinking about, because as you see, when we say, okay, we're recording, let's go, my mind is somewhere else, yet I'm trying to listen. I'm hoping the audio's right, the thing is recording. And so I knew that about myself, and I definitely wanted somebody, but I did not think about you, because I did not think that you would be interested in doing a podcast with me. So I kind of went out on my own, asked 4 or 5 people, and wasn't getting a yes, got a couple of no's, but nobody was saying yes. And it just so happened that one day I threw it out to you. And when I said, hey, I'm doing this podcast, and your reaction, and when you were saying back to me, and that was it. I was like, I should have asked them in the first place. I just didn't think you would.
And the crazy part is for the people who don't know, we worked together for over a decade now. We've known each other for 12, 15 years, somewhere in that range. And it all started where we would be one of the closest duo in the place where we worked at. We were very close, and we were very, we would almost get that harassment for us being little, comedic duo at the workplace. so we kind of bounced off each other already. So to have that over decades of us building that and doing that, and then never talking about podcasts. Me and you never talked about it. We
Never.
never discussed about what we liked and what we listened to, and it's just weird because we both had this passion that we were next to each other for 14 hours a day and never talked about it.
Never did.
I'd have it in my ear, you'd have it in your ear, and we didn't talk about it.
No.
Which is crazy to think about.
Yeah, that's why when we got started, I was just really excited about how you were excited about it. And so I had a couple podcasts, and we did the funny one, but it was true that it's not always going to be the both of us, and it's not always going to be just me. There's going to be some with just you. I'm not all about, it's all about me. I'm the host. I'm the, it's my name and everything like that. Speaking of which, how do you feel about that? You were asked about it being called JP Podcasts.
Yeah. So somebody asked me why JP Podcasts. Obviously John Perilla. So I have no ego in the game. I have no interest in being necessarily the lead. That's not something I strive for in this world, in this podcast world. I do enjoy having the conversations and being part of it, but the recognition. So to kind of piggyback that question and to one of the questions as well is being famous, and I don't have that desire to necessarily sit in that front seat and be the lead man. And I think that is critical of a co-host to know where he wants to be. I don't necessarily want to be sitting front seat all the time. I can handle it. I just don't want it all the time.
Yeah. And plus, when I got started, nobody was saying yes. I hadn't really talked to you yet. Mm-hmm. So I come up and spend all this money on a logo, and a little jingle.
This is something off topic that I wanted to put out there is, we talked about how hard it is and everything. And me not wanting that front seat, mainly because I have a lot of responsibilities in life. I still have 2 young kids, and not that, so does everyone. Everyone has a lot of responsibilities in life. But you've put in a lot recently. You've probably put in, not just a lot, you've put in everything so far. So you've been able to invest not all your time, but you know what I'm saying? You've been able to invest your time into this podcast, which is, that's what made me so ready to do it, is you're very invested in what you're doing. So
yeah, I do want it to grow. A lot of people have asked, what about your backgrounds? And, and all that costs money. And it's not that I can't afford it, or, the cameras that are switching and that all costs money. But I wanted to see where this is going first. And, we took a little time off. I went with the wife. We went down to Millersburg, Berlin area there. And so we took a week off, and then we had a cancellation. So here we were 2 weeks without a video. And I was starting to get itchy. I was like, because people were asking me, hey, when you're going to put another video out? I'd like to put one out, well, once a week, once every 2 weeks. That's what I'm looking to do right there. And I'm not going to say it's tough. Oh, this is hard work, because it's fun. There's a lot of fun preparing. It's just getting schedules as far as you and me, so the fact that you work nights, I work days, we work we work opposite of each other. So when I'm off, you're working, and when you're working, I'm off, so it's one of us is making a sacrifice to either not going in, or taking a vacation day or something like that. And it's just trying to come up with a schedule that works for the both of us. And, I do like what we got coming up. We got some really good stuff coming up that we really got to do our homework on and prepare. And that was the other reason why I wanted someone like you. You have a different background than I, even though we both come from the same city. We were both born in Lorraine, but I'm not that much into sports. I like my Cleveland teams, and that's about it.
Yeah.
But you follow sports religiously. A lot of people don't know. Well, everybody at work, but a lot of people watching who are just meeting you for the first time. You got one of the best basketball IQs of anybody I've ever seen, and I've always went to you when I had a basketball question, especially when LeBron was around.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really get into it that much. I got the military background, so
And that's what that's something else that we talk about that excites me is we're always asking each other, like I said, I run to you for the gun questions or the military questions and we have this very yin and yang type.
yeah. It's as far as personalities are. I think the only thing, I'm trying not to talk too loud. I keep going like this because the microphone's down here. But I think the one thing we do have in common is our humor. We got the same stupid humor, and that's what we noticed about each other. Is you fucking crack me up? You know what I mean? So,
but I want that to show. I do want that to get out, and I want that to our personalities be able to eventually hit the top and have a fun episode. That's more up my alley. I would love to just be goofy. We don't need to be so serious. Everything's so serious all the time that it's just fun to be goofy sometimes.
Yeah, and I'm wanting to get that out of some shows also. I want to have a little professional edge to it, but funny. Just sit back, relax. Let's have some fun with this. And we do have a couple stories that are coming up that we got a cousin of mine. We're going to be actually doing it tomorrow, so it'll be out in a week or two. But we told him, no, I want the good stuff, So I'm not going to give the subject out now. But when I said I have no problem interviewing you. Plus, not plus, but I said, but I want the good stuff. People ask me a lot of questions. Now, what about this? What about that? Now, you got to realize, it's guys don't want to talk about certain things. Their families are watching.
Yeah.
So you got to be, you got to respect them at the same time. There's a lot of stories that these guys can tell, but I don't know if we're that show yet. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, so. Definitely, and not a lot of followers to the point of cancellation worries, but enough of the talk in the world that we live in today that people just try to not say as much as they want to. If I, they don't want, no matter how small or how little it is, they don't want to lose whatever they have over a podcast, and that's part of our our dilemma with the work here that we do. Between, like you said, this isn't hard work. This is a lot of fun. We just sit around and we talk and we have a good time doing it. And when we mess up, it's even more fun. And those are the fun times that we get to poke fun at each other. But it's time. Time's the hardest. I mean, we all know that's the hardest thing to do is get everybody lined up on a single schedule that literally work every day. Not just 8 hours a day, but everybody I know works at least 12. So.
Mm-hmm. And that was actually one of the questions I was going to ask you. Is this a lot of work to you? And I'm going to answer it for me, even though I'm asking it to you. But it is, but it isn't. It is work, but it's fun. It's an adventure, and it's something new, and we're getting involved. And like the last one with Steve there talking about the prepping, I had a few people say, we want to see you guys do something. Well, we got some other things we got to take care of first, but we definitely do got,
Yeah. And also, we don't, there's things we're learning as we go. So having that video and then putting it out and then now realizing, it's October and to go do something, not that we're choosing not to do it in the winter, but we're gonna go out there with Jesus candles and fly swatters. I don't want to go out there also freezing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we didn't think that out, but we will have that challenge up. I definitely intend on getting out there and trying it for sure.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I've had several people, especially from work, approach me and say, "Man, I like it," and I didn't know. I didn't know you were into this stuff or you had something going on like this, but I like it, and that's kind of encouraging, it makes me happy. Yeah. It's like, good, that's what we're looking to get, we get deeper into it.
The funniest thing was we just talked about the Steve thing, and I actually meant to bring it up to you, and it just now reminded me. So this whole week I said I was at the drag strip, at the racetrack, doing some racing this weekend, and it was just me by myself there. So on the weekend, Friday and Saturday, I slept in the bed of my truck, the bed of the truck of the thing with a cab on it or whatever, but very minimalist. I had what I had, cans I had to heat up over the fire, but it played in my mind like this is still camping, but it's close to not having much.
Yeah.
Don't get it wrong, I had an electric heater, but
yeah, that's funny. Other than that, I approached another guy I know, and he had said yes. He does little short videos, and I asked him, I said, you mind if he puts them out once a week? I said, you mind if I put them on the show? And he's like, yeah, no problem. I think we're going to have that. I'm looking for, if you want to be on the show or you got a short video, send them to us. We'll put them on the podcast. They're fillers, I say, because sometimes there's going to be a time where we're setting up for a podcast and it's going to take a couple weeks, so, I'm trying to get them out there once a week, but it might be once every 2 weeks. You might hit that time where it's once every 3 weeks.
Yeah, and don't be afraid as a viewer to leave a comment on what you want to see. If there's a certain profession that we could reach out to, comment and let us know. If you want to, like he said, brought up a mortician, we could find a local one if they're willing to talk. It's just any recommendation would help. We're always looking for any ideas that you guys are interested in as well.
Yeah, and it is tough. Like last week, we were ready to go. We had been talking about it, and everything was set up, and then we had a cancellation at the last minute. And that's just how it works, and until we get super famous, people are going to cancel us. They're going to cancel on us.
Perfect transition. That was like we said, we talked a little bit before we actually hit the record button. Since we haven't even been face to face since the last episode. The famous question, that was a question I was asked by a friend when I told him about the podcast and to check it out or whatever. He asked if I was trying to get famous, and I responded, no, I don't want to get famous. But when it makes you think after a few minutes, like, well, but we're in the views business, where obviously if we want to do this professionally, we need the views to go along with it, to sponsor and all that good stuff.
Yep.
Well, that comes along with views, comes along with fame, and that in return is your profession. So ipso facto, you're famous, so you get money. That's the world that we live in through views. But I don't want the fame, if that makes sense. That I don't need fame. I just want to enjoy having a conversation, and if I can support my family and enjoy doing my hobbies while doing that as a profession, I would love to do that. But exactly. I don't know about fame. How about you?
I'm not looking at it for the fame part either, but it does come with it. If we're going to start, if we're looking to get views, and a lot of people know who you are, I guess in a way it is like that. I'm looking to do this as long as it's fun, and we're growing. And
let me make this clear. I also want to make it clear real quick to the viewers. We understand there's only 300 views on some of our videos and 100 views. We're not by any stretch of the imagination saying that we're famous. We're saying these are questions we have been asked when starting a podcast. So when you start a podcast and you relay these to your friends and family and co-parts and all that, you get asked a lot of questions, a lot of random questions that people are interested in. These are some of the ones that struck us. So when one of my friends asked if I wanted to be famous, that was just it made you think a little bit. We don't feel like we're anywhere close to that yet or on our way to anything special right now. We're just starting a podcast. That's all
Yeah,
we're doing.
exactly. I also got the question of, oh, you're trying to be like Joe Rogan. And I'm like, well, no, I'm not. I'm trying to be John. I know what he has, and I love him. I listen to him too, but it's not like I'm trying to set up my platform exactly like what he's got going on. No, I'm just trying to be me and have fun while we're doing it. I the more, did you notice, the more we got into it, the more people all said, oh, I got this guy or that guy. He does a podcast too.
Yeah,
So
and it turns into a
I
big
never knew.
world.
Yep, I never knew. So I've been following. There's a guy out of Lorraine. I got to get his name. I have everything in my phone, but I've been watching a guy out of Lorraine. I like him,
Yeah.
And there's a couple other people that I'm finding local, and I've been listening to, and I love it. I just love everything about what everybody's doing, and to me, this is the future.
Yeah.
Like I said, I don't get my news anymore from the TV. I don't go on Facebook anymore. That was a bad place to get your news, but the radio or it's a podcast. That's what I do. I know exactly who I want to listen to, and I listen to. And if they say something that I'm like, I don't know, then I'll go to the opposite side to see what they're saying about the same subject, and then I make up my own mind from it. Because you never know who's saying what.
And it's the same as anything that took off before. So you said the talk radio. There's still people, that when everyone started doing that, then they were the next Howard Stern. That's who they wanted to be. So the Joe Rogan is the Howard Stern of podcasts now, where everybody is going to say that's who they copied off of, and that just comes with the territory. That's part of it. There's nothing we can do. What we wish I could have been the first one to ever think of the podcasting world, but we're not. So I just, like we said, I really enjoy, as you get older, you enjoy just talking and seeing how other people come at problems and solve them, or how they come at a situation and how their thought process is about it. It's just, that becomes intriguing. I don't know if it's age or what that is that makes that intriguing, but that's what I find intriguing nowadays.
Yeah, same here. It's not like we got a long way to go, to be honest. One of the guys was busting my balls, you only got 50 subscribers, and I'm like, we're not expecting this to blow up overnight. We expect to be doing this for 3-4 years before we start seeing any feedback or any monies from it. So we know it's going to be a long process, but you got to start somewhere. We got to start getting them shows in.
We're not naive. We're two Lorraine born and raised people that are on a podcast trying to have a conversation and see who else wants to listen. That's all we are. That's what we want to be, and we're happy with that. We just feel like we could have a lot of people on that want to spread their news. We support the local people as well. So we want anybody around, anybody who has any interest on spreading any type of news. If you want a platform, we're willing to listen, at least, shoot us an email or a comment, whatever.
Absolutely. Yeah. They left the email there on the channel, and, throw some comments or send a text. I got a text from my stepbrother the other day, and he showed me his stock for his prepping, and that's pretty cool to know that somebody, as soon as he sent it, I knew what he was talking about, so
you knew he had seen the episode without even saying anything.
Exactly. So, and another friend of mine, she said it, she really liked it, but it felt like she was eavesdropping, she goes, she was like, I felt like I was eavesdropping in on your conversation. I was like, well, that's a good thing.
That's perfect. Yeah,
that's a good thing.
I take that as a compliment.
Yeah, that's exactly what we want. So we hope everybody sticks with us and puts up with us. And I know this is a new format. Tom and I have never tried this, face to face. It's rough.
And we're not even social media. We haven't even gotten that side of our like I'm a non-factor on any social media platforms. So this is all new. This is all, everything we're doing is brand new to us. And
Very new.
so you're seeing the raw product, and we're just trying to go up from here.
Yeah, I can't even figure out how to put me, let me see, me on that side of the screen. So I left it like this. I don't
Yeah.
care. You know what I mean?
It's like I'm sitting in the host seat today, you know? Yeah.
Yeah, I don't care.
Yeah.
But all right, well, we're going to wrap it up here. I thank everybody for sticking with us. I know this was a little bit different, but we just want to let everybody know we do have more coming up. Like tomorrow, we're going to be doing a podcast and trying to set up one for Monday, and took a lot of time off from work this month so that I can match with Tom's schedule. And we got a big one set up on the 17th that we're going to be recording. So we got a lot coming up, some really good stuff with people. And we got another one that Tom set up that we're going to be doing, I believe, the next week also, right?
Yeah, I
Is
believe
that,
so.
yeah, so
Yeah.
we're gonna have some stuff, and
Yeah. And don't forget, everybody, what helps us is hitting them likes and subscribe buttons.
absolutely.
That's what helps us. That's what keeps the small man in the game. So
I tell everybody, just subscribe. I get the views. We're getting the views, so I'm happy where everything's at. But it got to hit them subscribes and
yeah.
them likes and the notification. That was so hard to
Yeah.
say that one day.
That's real hard for you, at least. Yeah.
So okay, well, we're gonna wrap it up. You guys have a great day, and thank you for listening.
All right, it's good seeing everybody.
Bye bye.